So, okay. So, yesterday, yes, I said Python database communicate, how to work with MySQL, right? I said how to work with MySQL, and we have seen all the commands like inserting, updating, deleting, right? The next is, I said, what are the basic steps? So, to communicate with database. So, these are the basic steps to communicate with what here? Database. So, the first step is, what is the first step? Is you have to establish. So, what is the first step is you have to establish connection to a database server. So, this you can call it as Python program, and this you can call it as which one? Server. This is called as which server here? Database server. So, this is which program here? Python program. So, I want Python program. I want Python program should communicate with what here? Database server. So first step, what you have to do is I have to establish what is that? Connection. I have to establish connection. So this connection is established. I have to establish connection, and this connection is established by using by using one function called connect. So first step is establishing connection to database. Establishing connection to database or database server. So how you are establishing connection to a database or database server? So for that MySQL, so MySQL dot connector dot, so there is one function called which one? Connect. So what is the name of the function here? Connect. So what is the function name you have here? Connect is a function name. MySQL dot connector dot connect. So MySQL is a package and connector is a module, and connect is what here? Function. MySQL is a package, connector is a module, and connect is what here? Function. So connect function. So connect function of connector module. Connect function of connector module. Okay, establish connection to MySQL database and return connection object. after establishing connection to a database. So after establishing connection to a database, it will return which object? Connection object. Oh. So after establishing connection, it will return which object here? Connection object. So that is done by using a function called which one? Connect. So that is done by using a function called which one here? Connect as a function. So that will establishing connection to a database and return which object here? Connection object. So that is mysql.connector.connect. So just to see here, so import mysql dot connector. So it's a program to establish is a program to establish is a program to establish connection to which one here? Database server. Is a program to establish connection to a database server. So what I'm doing? Connection. So equal to mysql dot connector dot connect. So it followed by name of the database. So what is the syntax of this connect function is mysql dot connector dot connect. So connect it followed by database name and database username and database password. So you have to give database name and database username and database password. And what is my database name is? So Python 11am db. Python 11am db. Now you can verify. Yesterday we created, right? So MySQL command line client. Just open this. And my database password is root. So database password is what here? Root here. Okay. So import MySQL dot connector dot import MySQL dot connector. Oh, sorry. This is MySQL, right? So show databases. Yesterday we have created some databases, right? Show databases. Now what is that database? PyDB 11am. So PyDB 11am, right? Python database. What is the name of the database? PyDB 11am. You can just use this PyDB 11am. Okay, now in this we have a tables. Now you can see show tables. So this will display all the tables. And what is the table you have here? Student. Okay. So this is database name and this is database username and this is database password. So at the time of installation, by default, it will create one user. The database username is root And the password is also what here? Root. So after this, I'm displaying the message connection established. Okay. Then after that, I'm trying to display what CN is holding. After that, I'm displaying what CN is holding here. So CN hold database connection, right? So once you run this, now you can see the message connection established and which object it is, MySQL connection object. So connect method returns which object here, connection object. Which connection object? MySQL connection object. Okay. So this is the first step. So what is the first step is you have to establish connection to our database. And once you establish connection, using this connection, what you can do is you can send the SQL statements. Using this connection, what you can do, you can send the SQL statements. Using this connection, you can send the SQL statements to what? Database. Okay. Yes. Next is then once the connection is established, next you have to create which object here? Cursor object. You have to create which object here? Cursor object. So cursor object, cursor object is used to send SQL statements. To send SQL statements to what here? Database. To send SQL statements to database. So SQL statement is executed by server and return result into which object? Cursor object. So you can say cursor object hold result of executed cursor object hold result of executed query. How can you send the SQL statements to the database? You can send the SQL statements to the database using which object here? Cursor object. You can send the SQL statements to the database using which object? Cursor object. You can send the SQL statements to the database using which object? Cursor object. So cursor object return result of executed query. So cursor object hold result of executed query. So we can send two types of SQL statements. We can send two types of SQL statements to the database. One is called as a static SQL statements. One is called as a static SQL statements. And second one is called as dynamic SQL statements. We can send how many types of SQL statements to the database? Two types. One is called as a static SQL statements. And one more is called as what? Dynamic SQL statements. The first one is called as a static SQL statements. What is static SQL statement is an SQL statement with values. An SQL statement with values is called which statement? Static SQL statement. So what is dynamic SQL statement is? What is dynamic SQL statement is? An SQL statement with arguments or parameters. An SQL statement with arguments or parameters is called which statement? Dynamic SQL statement. It's called dynamic SQL statement, right? So for dynamic SQL, see an SQL statement with arguments, an SQL statement with arguments or parameters is called dynamic SQL statement. So dynamic SQL statement, you can give the values during runtime. Okay. Yes. What is the meaning of this is? Now cursor So cursor provides the following method to send a SQL statement. What is the method it provides is, there is a method called which one? Execute. Execute, it followed by SQL statement, and it followed by which one? Parameters. Followed by SQL statement, and what is that? Parameters. Now what I'm doing is, I want to insert values into which table? Student table. I want to insert values into which table? Student table. Now this is student table. I want to insert data into student table. So how can I insert the data into student table? Okay. Now this is inserting values. So program to insert values into which table? Student table. So first step is, you have to establish what here? Connection. Then second step is, you have to create a cursor. But this cursor object is given by connection. This cursor object is given by which one here? Connection, right? Who give the cursor object? Connection object gives this. So this cursor object is given by which one here? Connection. Connection dot, what is that here? Cursor. So this cursor object is written, cursor object is created by connection. Connection dot cursor. Now this is creating which object here? Cursor object. So why we created cursor object? For sending which statement? SQL statement. How can I send SQL statement? By using execute method. Execute method of which object here? Cursor object. And what you are executing here? Insert command. Which command you are sending to the database? Insert command, because I want to insert values into student table. Okay. Insert into student values. So already we inserted some values into which table? Student table. Now select star from student. Okay. Now this time I want to insert roll number 2 and the name of the student. And next one is the course of the student. Okay, now this is which command here? Insert command. But is it this command is with values or without values? With values. So the command which is sent to the database for compilation with values is called as which statement? Static SQL statement. So this you can call it as which SQL statement? Static SQL statement. So after inserting value, it will return the count. So always the DML commands returns what? Count. Always the DML commands returns what? Count. Count it will return. So that is how many rows are inserted, how many rows are updated, and how many rows are what? Deleted. DML statements always written what? Count. Like how many rows are inserted, how many rows are updated, and how many rows are what? Deleted. Okay. So how can I get that count? I can get, see, after executing the command, it will return the result into what? Cursor. So cursor is having one attribute. What is that attribute? Row count. So this row count will return how many rows are inserted. Suppose I inserted how many rows? Only one row. If I'm saying print A, it will return what? 1. Because how many rows I inserted? Only one row. Now I just run this. Okay. Once I run this, so how many values are there? How many columns? Roll number, name, course, and one more is a fees. Fees also there, right? Okay, fees is also there. So we have to send 4 values. Now how many rows are inserted here? 1 row is inserted. Connection is established and inserted how many rows here? 1 row. Now you can see in the back end, I'll just write here select star from, what is the table here? Student. What is it that Suresh is inserted or not inserted? not inserted, because where the insertion is done within the cursor. But if you want to save these changes into a database, okay, cursor is nothing but your session. What is a cursor here is a session, and whatever commands you are executing, all these commands are executed within the session. If you want to make it permanent, you have to say what? Connection dot. You have to save the changes using what? Commit. Once you don't say commit, the changes are done within what? Cursor, but not in the database. Not in the database. Now you can see one row is inserted, and then I'm saying select star from. What is the name of the table? Student. Now is it Suresh is inserted or not? Yes. So until unless you don't say commit, the changes will not be done in the database table, because whenever you establish connection, for this client, your database will create, server will create one session. Establishing connection is nothing but creating one session. So what will happen? It will create one logical database. It will create one logical database. Now, whenever you do insertion, the insertion is done in what here? Session, but not in the database. In the session, if you want to save changes in the database, what do you have to do? You have to say commit. Once you commit, the changes which are done in the session, the changes are applied to what? Database. The changes which are done in the session, the changes will apply to what? Database. But here, is it this command is with values or without values? With values. For example, I want to give the values at runtime. For example, I want to give the values at what here? Runtime. I want to give the values at what? Runtime. I want to give values. So then how can I give the values at runtime? So in that case, my command should not be with values. My command should be with what? Arguments. The command should not be the values. The command should be with what? Arguments. Now you have to open the database table and see whether this row is inserted or not. So just open database table and check. Open the database table and verify, is it that row is inserted or not inserted. Whether row is inserted or not inserted, you just check inside database table. But this is static SQL statement. But I want the SQL statement should be what? Dynamic. I want the SQL statement should be dynamic. Means I don't want the command should be with values. I want to give the values to the command at runtime, not in the program, not in the command, but I want to give the values to the command at runtime. Then I'll go for dynamic SQL statement. Program to insert values into which table? Student table. Okay, using which SQL statement? Dynamic SQL statement. Okay, using dynamic SQL statement, not static here, dynamic SQL statement. So import MySQL dot connector as what? MySQL. Now I just give one alias name. Instead of writing every time MySQL dot connector, I just write what? MySQL as which name? Alias name or alternative name. So that is an alias name or alternative name. So import MySQL dot connector as what here? MySQL. So what is the name of this function here? Main. So establish connection, MySQL dot connect. So MySQL means what will happen? MySQL dot connector dot connect. So Python database 11 AM. And what is the username of my database? Root. What is the password of my database here again? Root. So this is establishing connection. Next step is you have to create which one? Cursor. But who's giving the cursor object? Connection. So where I'm saying connection dot, which object I'm creating? Cursor object. So once the cursor is created, now using this cursor, you send which statements? SQL statement. But my SQL statement should be what? Dynamic. Should be dynamic, right? So I'll try to put this SQL statement into one string. What is the name of that string is command? Anything you can give. But what is my command here? Insert into what? Student. Values. Now here you are writing replacement fields. You are writing replacement fields. Percentages, 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 percentage s. Now, is it this command is with values or with parameters or arguments? Arguments. So you have to give values for this replacement fields like percentages, 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 and what? Percentage s. It means you have to replace this value. I mean, you have to replace these fields. You have to replace these fields with what here? Values. You have to replace this particular fields with what here? Values. Then how can I replace these fields with the values? Okay. So for that, now what I'm saying is while true, I want to insert more than one. Okay. Then first I'm reading which one? Roll number. So integer of input, enter. What is this here? Roll number. Next, I have to input which one? Name. I just write here, enter, name. Next, I have to input what here? Course. Then I'm saying enter, course. Next, I have to input the value of fees. I'm saying input, enter. What do you have to enter? Fees. So how many fee variables are there here? 4. Now these values I have to send to the command and execute. So cursor dot execute. What I am executing? Command. What is the value of command here? Is it insert command or not? Yes. And this command I am executing it by giving different parameters. What is the first parameter? Roll number. Second one is name. Third one is course. And fourth one is what? Fees. So it means you are trying to send how many values to this command now. So first field is replaced with roll number. Second field is replaced with the name. And third field is replaced with the course. And fourth field is replaced with what? Fees. Now you are trying to replace these values. I mean, you are replacing these fields with what here? Values. You are replacing these fields with the values. Now, once the execution is done, I want to return the count. Okay. Suppose if any error in execution, then it raises SQL except block. So I'll try to say cursor dot. What is this now? Row count. I just display the message. Okay, our rows are inserted. So this, how many rows are inserted? And after that, I'm asking like whether you want student. Okay. So if answer is no, if the answer is no, what do you have to do? Terminate it. If the answer is no, you have to commit the changes. Then I'll say which statement? Break. So break is for termination of this infinite while loop or not? Yes. So this command is, you are executing this command how many times? Number of times. I'm executing this command number of times by giving same values or different values. By giving same values or different values, different values. Not by giving same values, right? Not by giving same values, you are trying to execute it by giving different values. Okay, not by giving same values, but by giving what are different values. Okay, so that SQL statement is called dynamic SQL statement. Now enter roll number is there. So roll number is 3, and this is the name of the student and the course of the student and fees of the student. Add another. Now one rows are inserted. So add another student. I'll say yes. Now this roll number is 4. This is the name of the student and this is a course of the student and this is a fees of the student. Add another student. I'm saying no. So how many student details are inserted here? 2 student. Now if I say in the back end, select star from, what is the table name? Student. So how many rows are inserted here? 2 rows. Inserting. So you are inserting by sending which command? Insert command. You are inserting it by sending which command? Insert command. Okay. So whenever you want to insert the data, what you are sending here? Insert command to the database table. If you want to update, you'll send which command to the database table? Update command. If you want to delete, then you send which command to the database? Delete command. If you want to create a table, then you send which command to the database? Create command. So whichever operation you want to do it, you send that command toward database table. So if you want to create it, just use a create command. Send. Now this is the output. Okay, so this is the program for, but most of the times in application development, so most of the time in application development, you'll try to use which commands here? Dynamic SQL statement rather than which one here? Static SQL statement. Because static means it will try to perform only one. Dynamic means it will try to perform multiple, but with the same values or different values, different values. And dynamic SQL statements are more secure. If it is a static SQL statement, okay, what will happen? You send a command with the values. So there is a chance of changing what? Values. But here, dynamic SQL statement, you send a command to the database without values. You give the values after compiling the SQL statement. In static SQL statement, you give the values before compiling. Dynamic SQL statement, you give the values after compiling the SQL statement. So it is more secured compared to which SQL statement? Static SQL statement. So in application development, most of the times you use which SQL statement? Dynamic SQL statement rather than which SQL statement? Static SQL statement. For example, yeah, this is for inserting. Now I want to write a program. Now see, what you need to know is you should know 4 operations like how to insert, how to update, how to delete, and how to retrieve. As a Python developer, you should know how to insert the data into a database table and how to retrieve the data from database table, how to insert the data into a database table, how to retrieve the data from database table, and how to delete the data of database table, how to replace data of database table. Now these are called CRUD operations. For example, sign up is there. Sign up is nothing but inserting. Sign in is nothing but retrieving. Changing password is nothing but updating. Deleting user is nothing but deleting. Okay, now transactions like deposit is nothing but updating. Withdraw is nothing but updating. Opening account is nothing but inserting. Okay, changing address is nothing but updating. Okay, so you should know these operations. Now write a program to change or to update. To update the course of a student, update. I want to update the course of a student. How can I update the course of the student, right? So for that, I have to send which command to the database? Update command. I have to send which command to the database? Update. So I'm writing here MySQL dot connector as what here? MySQL. Import MySQL dot connector as what? MySQL here, right? Yes. After that, what I'm doing is now this is a function word main. So what is the first step? Establishing connection MySQL dot connect, and you have to give the database name Python database 11 name and database username and database which one here? Password. Database username and database what here? Password. Okay. Yes. Database username and database password. Yes. No problem. Right. So next, what you have to do is you have to create a cursor by saying connection dot what is that cursor. So why you are creating a cursor is for sending which statements? SQL statements. So cursor is a method of which object? Connection object. So once the cursor is created, what you have to do? You have to send one command. What is the command I should send is update command. If you want to replace values, you will send which command? Update command. So what you're writing is update. Update. What is the name of the table? Student. What you are updating? Course. What is the name of the column here? Course equal to new course. So new course is given at runtime. New course is given at what? Runtime. You are updating with a new course of one student or all the students? One student. Then I have to give one condition here where so where roll number where roll number equal to which one? Percentage S. Now suppose I want to update the course of roll number 1. Okay. Then I want to update the course from AWS to Python. Then update student set course equal to which one? Python. Where roll number is what? 1. Means it will update the course of student roll number 1 or not? Yes. If I don't give the where condition, it will update the course of all the students. But I don't want to update the course of all the students. But I want to update the course of how many students? One student. Then you have to give which condition? Where condition. So where roll number equal to percentage S. So this is a command here. Okay, update student. Now I have to enter roll number. So which student roll number course you want to update. So integer of input. Input, what is that? Enter. What do you have to enter here? Roll number. Then you have to enter the course. Input, enter. Enter, what is that? Course. Then you have to update it. Then you have to send these values to the command. So cursor dot execute. What you are executing? Command. And to this command you are sending how many values? 2 values. But what is the first value? Course. What is the first value? Course. What is the second value? Roll number. So you have to give in the same order. This position is 1 and this position what here? 2. This position is 1 and this position is what here? 2. You are trying to give the value of first position, that is course, and you are giving the value of second position, that is what? Roll number. So after giving these values, now command parameters course comma, what is that? Roll number. After executing, it will return the count. Suppose I'm saying k, some k equal to cursor dot row count. Suppose on successful updation, it will return 1. If one row is updated, it returns 1. If 2 rows are updated, it returns what? 2. If no rows are updated, then return 0. If k equal to 0, it means roll number is valid or invalid? Invalid. So print format. Okay, roll number invalid or roll number not exist. Or I just write invalid roll number. Invalid roll number or roll number not exists. Otherwise, I'm saying updated. Now course updated. Course updated, and I do changes by saying connection dot commit. After that, connection dot what is that? Close. So which will close the connection or it will release the resources. Now once this is done, I just execute it. Now enter roll number is 1. Now student roll number 1. So roll number 1 course is what? AWS. I want to change to this course from AWS to what? DevOps. Now you can see course updated. You can see backend. Is it courses updated or not? Now select star from student. Now the course from AWS, it is updated to what here? DevOps. So you are updating it by using update command. Suppose I try to execute again. I try to execute. Now this time roll number 10. I want to update to Oracle. Now you can say invalid roll number. Because is it roll number 10 is there or not there? Not there. Not there. Now if you want to replace, the values, you are sending which command? Update command. If you want to replace the values, you are sending which command? Update command. Yes. Yes. Now this is an example for updating here. Now you can see the first roll number is there, but second roll number is not there. And you try to see the output in the back, replace from AWS to what? DevOps. Is it that replacement done from AWS to what? DevOps. Okay. So now this is first one is inserting, second one is updating. Okay, first is inserting data, Second one is updating the data. And then next one is retrieving the data. How can I retrieve the data? So this is retrieving data. Oh. So retrieving data from which one here? Database table. So in order to retrieve the data, I have to send which command? Select command. To retrieve the data, I have to send which command? Select command to the database. So in order to retrieve, you have to send which command to the database? Select command, you have to send it. Okay. So no problem. Yes. Yes. If you want to retrieve the data from database table, okay. So in order to read data, in order to read data from database table, okay, we need to send which command here? Select command. We need to send which command? Select command. So what select command will do is, it will retrieve the data and store that retrieved data into which object? Cursor object. After executing select command, the result of select command is stored inside which object? Cursor object. So from cursor object, okay, we can read data. Using following methods. So there is a fetch methods are there. One is called as fetch many, and third one is called as fetch all. So how many methods are there here? 3 methods are there. One is fetch one, and second one is a fetch many, and third one is what here? Fetch all. So that is to retrieve the data from which object? So fetch one is able to read how many rows at a time? 1 row. So fetch one row. This is a method of cursor only. This method return 1 row from cursor. It return row as which one? Tuple. So tuple is read only or not? Yes. So can you do any changes? No. If there is no to read, then it returns what? None. Okay. If there are no to read, okay, or fetch, there is no row to read or fetch, it returns none. It returns what here? None. If you don't have any rows to read it from cursor, then fetch one returns what here? None. So at a time, it will fetch how many rows here? One row only. Now suppose import MySQL.connector as MySQL. Now this is retrieving whose details? Student details. I want to read all the student details. How many students are there? 4 are there. I want to retrieve all the students. So anyway, first you have to establish connection to what here? Database. So Python DB 11 AM. Next you have to enter the username. So database username, and you have to enter database password. You have to enter the database username and database password. So that is for establishing connection to what here? Database, right? So that is called as MySQL.connect. Then after that, next create a cursor by saying connection dot cursor object. This is creating which object here? Cursor object. So after creating a cursor object, using this cursor, I have to send the SQL statement that is select star from what is the table? Student. So select command, retrieve the data from which table? Student table, and store that data into which object? Cursor object. Then how can I get these rows from the cursor? I can say some R1 equal to cursor dot what is that? Fetch 1. R2 equal to cursor dot what is that? Fetch 1. I'm trying to fetch each row every time. R3 equal to cursor dot fetch 1. R4 equal to cursor dot fetch 1. Okay. R5 equal to cursor dot what is that? Fetch 1. So every time you're trying to fetch how many rows here? One row. But I tried to fetch how many rows here? 5 rows. But how many rows are there in the database table? 4. Then what is the last one you have? Yes. Connection dot close. But here no comment because you are not doing any changes. You are just retrieving the data. Now you can see last one is what here? None. Okay, now if you want in the but it will return each row as one tuple. Now you can see this is the first row and this is second row. This is third row and this is fourth row. And what is the last row you have here? None. Okay. But how many times you will say fetch one? Number of times, right? Instead of that, what you can do is, okay, you can say cursor dot execute again. I'm saying select star from which one? Student. Again, I retrieve the data and you can say while true. Now you can write a loop. And every time you can fetch one row by saying fetch one. If row is equal to none, if row is none, I'm saying what here? Break. Otherwise, I'll try to print what? Row. Now, instead of saying number of times, so instead of saying that, right? Now, you can see one by one by putting inside what here? Loop. But fetch one will read at a time one row and then move to what? Next row. After reading each time one row, it will just move the cursor toward next row. After reading each row, it will move the cursor to what here? Next row. Next row. But how it will move the cursor to the next row? Okay, when you say again fetch one. This is reading each time one row here. And if you want to read more than one row, right? If you want to read more than one row from the cursor, you take the help of fetch many, right? You take the help of fetch many. Means where it is storing this here is after reading the data from database table, it will store in memory. It will store in memory as which object here? Cursor object. So it get the data from database table. After getting the data from database table, then the data will be stored in which object here? Cursor object. From this cursor object, you are reading the data. How you are reading the data from cursor object? By using fetch one, by using fetch many, by using fetch all. But after retrieving the data from database table, the data will be stored inside which object? Cursor object. Now this is how you are trying to fetch number of rows, right? Okay. Now I want to fetch, okay, I want to read more than one row, not one row. I want to read more than one row. How can I read more than one row? Now this is, I execute student, but cursor is having how many rows? 4 rows are there. I want to read at a time, some 2 rows I want to read it. Then I'm saying rows equal to cursor dot, what I'm saying, fetch many. But here I have to give how many rows you want to read it. How many rows I want to read? 2 rows. Then what this fetch many will do is, it will return one list. It will return one list, and that list contain how many rows here? 2 rows. And each row is represented as what? Tuple. Each row is represented as what here? Tuple. Now you're saying rows equal to cursor dot fetch many. It followed by what here? 2. 2 is nothing but number of rows which you want to fetch it. How many rows you want to fetch? So that is defined by what here? Fetch many. So that is defined using fetch many here, right? So this is written one list, and this list is having how many tuples here? 2 tuples. Now each tuple is one row. Now you don't require to read it from where? Cursor, because already it is read from cursor and stored in what? List. Okay, now you can Now avoid communicating with which one? Database number of times. Okay, rather than you fetch all the rows at once, or specific number of rows at once by using fetch many and what? Fetch all. Now suppose I'll say for row in what is that? Rows. So each row is one tuple, and row of 0, row of 1, and row of 2, and row of 3. So these are nothing but roll number, name, course, and fees. Roll number, name, course, and fees. Right? So this is how you are trying to retrieve it. Now, this is reading one row or multiple rows here. But if there is no rows to fetch, even if there is no rows to fetch, it will return empty list. Fetch many will return what? Empty list. But fetch one will return what? None. Because what? Fetch many is returning list. Okay, list of tuples. If there is no rows to fetch from the cursor, then what it returns? Empty list. Empty list. Now you don't want to read two rows or one row. You want to read all the rows. You want to read what here? All the rows. Then how can I read all the rows here? I can say rows equal to cursor dot fetch. What is that here? All. Now this will return all the rows as one list. Now you can see how many rows are there here? 4. So is it rows is one list or not? Yes. So you don't require to communicate here. Now for row in rows, and I just print which one? Row. So each row is read from where now? List. Now even though database connection is closed, even though database connection is what? Closed, where my data is there in? List. Even database connection is closed, where my data is there in? List. I can manipulate the data available in what? List. So I don't require to fetch every time from where? Cursor object. After fetching all the data, I can directly manipulate using the data available in what? List. So this is nothing but fetch. Either you fetch one row or you fetch what? Multiple rows. You fetch either one row or you fetch what? Multiple rows by using fetch all, fetch many, and fetch one, right? So these are the methods to read the data from where? Database table. Okay, for reading data from database table, you are executing which command? Select command. And after executing select command, the result of select command is stored inside what? The result of select command is stored inside what? The result of stored inside a cursor. The result of select command is stored inside what? Cursor. So this is how to insert. Now we have seen how to insert the data, and we have seen how to update the data, and we have seen how to retrieve the data. And next, what we have to do? Delete. So how can I delete? How can I delete the rows from database table? Now this is deleting data or rows from what is that here? Database table. So for deleting rows, okay. So for deleting rows, for deleting rows from database table. So we have to send which command here? What is the command you have to send? Delete command. We have to send one command. Which command we have to send? Delete command. So this delete command for deleting rows from database table, we have to send which command to the database table? Delete command. So delete. So how can you send this delete command? By using execute. Now this is a program to delete student from which table? Student table. So what I have to do first, I have to import mysql.connector as which one here? MySQL. MySQL.connector as MySQL, right? So the first thing you have to do is establish connection. So MySQL.connect. So database, I have to use database. So what is my database? PyDB 11 AM. And I have to give the username is a root. And password is also what here? Root. So I establish connection. Then after that, I have to use a command. What is my command? Delete from which table? Student table, where roll number is %s. If I don't give the where condition, it will delete all the students. But I want to delete how many students? Only one student. I don't want to delete all the students, but I won't delete only one student. So I have to give the roll number of the student. I have to give the roll number of the student for which you want to delete it. Okay. So after that, what I'm saying is I'm trying to input the roll number equal to integer of input, enter. What is that? Roll number. So after giving roll number, after giving what? Roll number, I have to send the command by saying cursor. But are we created cursor here? No. Now we have to create a cursor. Connection dot cursor and cursor dot execute. What you are executing? Command. And this command is having how many parameters? Only one. What is that parameter? Roll number. Suppose if I enter roll number 1, so my command becomes what? Delete from student where roll number is what? 1. If the roll number, if I give 2, now what is my command becomes? Delete from student where roll number is what? 2. Okay. Roll number 1, roll number, what is that? 2. If you want to delete, right? So you are trying to delete roll number 1, or you might delete the roll number is what? 2. Right now, further you are saying connection dot cursor dot what? Execute. On successful execution of delete command, it returns how many rows are deleted. If one row is deleted, then what is the row count? 1. If the 2 rows are deleted, what is the row count? 2. If there is no rows are deleted, then what is the row count? 0. Okay, now I have to read how many rows are deleted by saying cursor dot, what is this here? Row count. If the count is greater than what? 0, I'm saying print student deleted. Student is what here? Deleted. Otherwise, is it that roll number is valid or invalid? Invalid. Invalid roll number. Now, whenever you do DML operations, you have to commit it, right? So here I'm saying connection dot commit. Now save changes. So the saving changes is done by invoking which method? Commit. If you don't say commit, the changes are done within the database. Okay, the changes are done within the database. No, the changes are not done in the database. The changes are done within what? Session. Connection, session. For every client, your database server, create one session. So workspace, some workspace or some logical database. So whenever you do an insertion, updation, deletion, it will do that. Insertion, updation, deletion not in the physical database, but in which database? Logical database, and that logical database is called what? Session. From logical database, if you want to put in what? Physical, you have to say what? Commit. So logical database is for one client. Physical database accessed by all the clients. Okay. So if I don't say commit, so the changes are only for one user. If I say commit, the changes are for all the users. But once I close the connection, what will happen? The changes are done in the physical database? No. You have to commit before closing which one? Connection. Okay. Now enter roll number. I won't delete. I won't delete a student whose roll number is what? 4. Now student deleted. Just in the database. Now select star from. What is the name of this student? Is deleted, right? 4 is deleted. If I try to input, enter roll number 4. Now 4 is invalid roll number because is it roll number 4 is deleted or not? Yes. Yes. Now this you can call it as deleting rows from database table. Now as a developer, as a Python developer, you must know how to insert, update, delete, and retrieve the data from database table by executing different commands like insert, update, delete, and what? Select. But these operations we did on which database? What is my database server here? MySQL. These things are done in which database? MySQL database. But I want to do the same operations on which database? Oracle database. I want to do the same operations on which database? Oracle database. Now, the next one, what I'm telling you is Python and Oracle database communication, or how Python program communicate with which database? Oracle database. How Python program communicate with which database? Oracle database. How Python program communicate with the Oracle database. What is the first step is install. Install which software? Oracle software. So first thing is you have to install the Oracle software. And second is install which one? Install CX underscore Oracle library. CX underscore Oracle library. First, you have to install which software? Oracle software. You can download and install the Oracle software from now Oracle software download. Now from here you can download the Oracle software and you can install it. Now you find different versions of Oracle softwares like this is Oracle Word 19C. Oracle 19C is that. Oracle 19C. Oracle database. What is that? 21C. And you can also look for Oracle database Express editions. Now this is Oracle database Express edition, like Oracle database 21C Express edition and Oracle database 21C. This is also what here Express edition for Linux, but this is for which operating system? Windows. So just download and install it because this will take a lot of time. But you download and install from this place. Okay. Or you can download Oracle 11G. 11G also can download Oracle 11G. So Oracle database 11G release 2 Express edition for Windows. Okay. just download it. Oracle Database Express Editions. Now you can see Oracle Database 11G Express Edition. Okay, Oracle Database 11G, right? Express Edition, you can download and use it. Okay, but in my system already Oracle software is installed. But next, what you have to do is you have to install one library, right? What is that library you have to install? CX underscore what? Oracle. Now go to the command prompt and here you just write pip. Pip, what is that? Install CX underscore Oracle. Yes. Now it is installed here. It's already there. I'll try to uninstall here. So now I'll try to install by saying pip install CX underscore which one? Oracle. Now it has been installed here. So try to install. What is the name of the library? CX underscore Oracle. So like MySQL, you are using MySQL connector Python. Like that, for communicating with Oracle, you are using CX underscore Oracle. CX underscore Oracle is a package. CX underscore Oracle package. Package provided by which one here? Oracle Corporation. CX underscore Oracle package provided by Oracle Corporation. So this package is used. This package is used to communicate with. This package or library is used. This package or library is used to communicate with which database? Oracle database. Now just verify it. Is it installed or not? Just use import CX underscore what is that? Oracle. So is it imported successfully or not? Yes. It means is it this library is available or not available? Available. So first you have to install Oracle software. Okay, now then you have to install the library. So in my system already Oracle is there. Then how I should open Oracle? So for that you are using SQL command line client. Run SQL command line. How I can work with the Oracle? You have to run which one? SQL command line. How you work with MySQL? Run which one? MySQL command line. But to work with Oracle, I have to run which one? SQL command line. SQL command line. So when you open SQL command line, what you'll get here? SQL prompt you'll get. What do you get here? SQL prompt. So there is an SQL prompt here. Now I have to use what here now? Connect. Connect. Now there is a default username is system and password is what? Manager. So how to open or how to work, how to work with which one? Oracle database. So first is open which one? Run SQL command line. Open run SQL command line. So search run SQL command line. So you find this if you install Oracle. If you are not installing Oracle, then this you don't find it. So once you run this, now you'll get this one. So where you have to execute the command? Connect. So connect is for connecting which database? Oracle database, and Oracle database username is, there will be default username will be there like system, and password is what here? Manager. You'll also find some users like Scott Tiger. You'll also find some users like Scott and Tiger like that. Okay. Yes. Right. Anyway, we'll see tomorrow, right? How to communicate with which database? Oracle database. Okay. Right. And I'll try to tell you like how you communicate with this database using GUI, that is graphical user interface, which is done by using Kinter. So there is a Kinter module is there, which is used for developing which one? GUI. Okay. And Trutil module is there for developing graphics. Okay. Yeah, we'll see tomorrow that. Tomorrow we'll